All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. If this is your first time joining us this month, we have a jam-packed lineup of 25 plus events connecting us with scientists, adventurers, explorers, and conservationists from all over the world. Take a little time to visit exploringbytheseat.com. You can find those events, register to tune in live in a camera spot, or to tune into the events via YouTube. All right. It's always fun when we get a chance to go out live into the field. We are going to head out on board the exploration vessel Nautilus to join an expedition exploring the vibrant coral and sponge communities found within the Papahānaumokuākea Marine National Monument. It encompasses almost 600,000 square miles of the Pacific Ocean and is one of the largest marine conservation areas in the world. Today, we'll be joined by Kim Weaver, who's a science communication fellow on board the Nautilus, as well as Andy Collins, who's the education coordinator for this expedition. Let's bring them in live with us right now. Hey, Kim and Andy, how are we doing today?
We're doing awesome. How are you?
Good, good. It's great to see you. Always great to take another trip out to the Nautilus, and we're excited to catch up and see what you've been up to.
Great. Yeah. So are we ready to go live?
Should we just rock and roll?
Absolutely. It's your floor for a bit. Go ahead.
All right. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us here today. We are on board the EV Nautilus, and we just want to take a minute to show you around the ship a little bit. But before we break away, I want to point out what's going on behind us right now. This is live exploration happening behind us right now. So if something really exciting happens during our time together, we'll just switch over to that view and show you what our scientists are seeing right along with them. But first, we're going to give you a little overview of the ship. So here we go. This is previously recorded drone footage of the EV Nautilus, and we are in this control van on top of the ship. These are 3 shipping containers that have been merged together. This is where all of our ROV pilots and scientists are when the ROVs are down exploring the bottom of the ocean, which they are right now. They are controlling the ROVs and collecting samples and beaming out to you live from that control van on top of the ship. This is the satellite dome that is beaming our signal into space to a satellite and then down to Rhode Island, where it can go on the internet all around the world. And on the back deck here, you see these cranes. We use those to raise and lower our ROVs. We have 2 ROVs operating right now, Hercules and Argus. And these cranes put them over the side of the ship and lower them down on a very long, very strong tether to the bottom of the ocean. Up to 3,300 meters is as deep as we have gone on this expedition. So this is our ROV Hercules. It's about the size of a minivan and weighs about 7,000 pounds. You can see Hercules has thrusters and sample containers and 2 robotic arms on the front and cameras and lights. And what am I forgetting?
Well, you're forgetting that it's being controlled right from behind us. The ROV pilots are active right behind us. It's controlled from the ship. It has extra flotation. Those really cool spongy looking things are actually this high density foam that can handle thousands and thousands of pounds of pressure per square inch. It can collect samples. It can collect water samples, bio samples, rock samples. And it's and also has a beautiful, beautiful HD camera on it that delivers a lot of the footage that you see live.
Hercules works together with Argus, which is kind of our eye in the sky. Argus has cameras, and its main job is to watch out for Herc and make sure Herc doesn't get into any trouble. This is attached to the ship by a cable, so if the ship is moving around, Argus is the one bouncing and moving around, and then Hercules is on a separate tether so that Herc can give you a steady cam view of all the amazing things that we are discovering under the ocean.
Yeah, and both of these get powered from the ship, and they each have crazy amount of stadium lighting on it, you know, a few 100,000 lumens of lighting, and that allows us to explore these areas that are in complete darkness.
Here is a photo of Herc and Argus on the deck. Again, they're in the deep ocean now, so we can't show them to you live unless we see something in the background we switch to. And this is about the size of a camping cooler. This is one of our sample containers, so you can just see how big Hercules really is.
They can also collect stuff even bigger, but have to like put it on the deck in the front. We tried to collect this rock that was too big earlier, and it didn't quite work out, but sometimes they're able to do that.
So in addition to showing you our ship, we want to briefly show you where we are. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that we can get oriented here. There's the North American continent, and I understand you're coming to us from perhaps all around the world, but we are over here in the middle of the big blue Pacific Ocean. You can see there the Hawaiian Islands. That is where we all gathered a couple of weeks ago in Honolulu to board the EV Nautilus, and then we headed directly west about 900 more miles west of Hawaii to this chain of underwater seamounts right here. These are extinct volcanic seamounts, which we believe were active between 70 and 90 million years ago. And one of our main scientific objectives on this expedition is to collect rock samples. We have over 500 pounds of rock samples that we've brought up from the seafloor to try to figure out when these volcanoes were erupting.
Yeah, and so that area north of the chain is Papahānaumokuākea, the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, and this is kind of a map that gives you an idea of the boundary. So if you were to lay this on top of the United States, it would stretch from about Las Vegas to New Orleans. It covers that extent, and as we mentioned before, this is 580,000 square miles or 1.5 million square kilometers. So it's a vast area that we manage, and it has great cultural significance for Native Hawaiians, as well as incredible biological diversity. And we're also a World Heritage Site, a mixed natural and cultural World Heritage Site.
And I think the most amazing thing that you've told me about Papahānaumokuākea is that in that more than 600,000 square miles, only 6 square miles is land. These tiny atolls and islands that are in the main Hawaiian chain, it adds up to 6 square miles, but in that 6 square miles, millions and millions of seabirds are nesting, and lots of other very important marine habitat are in that area.
Yeah, 16 million seabirds use this area for nesting and breeding. And right now it's the time when the albatross are back, and there are 1.5 million of them up on Midway. And before we leave this, I just want to mention to you that we are in the process of considering this area for a National Marine Sanctuary designation. And so if you go to our website, that's papahānaumokuākea.gov, we're accepting comment on that through the end of January. So if you want to participate in helping to protect this area or have comments about as a National Marine Sanctuary, please submit your comments or attend one of our meetings, 4 meetings this month in December. Just go to the website and you can learn more.
So the first step to anything out here that we do is going to be some mapping. So we're going to show you a brief animated description of how we do some mapping. And Andy, you going to talk about how we do some mapping here?
The ship has the coolest multi-beam and sub-bottom profile mapping tool. So it can map down to 6,000 meters. The deeper, the narrower that path that it can map. But a lot of these areas that we're coming into haven't been mapped in great detail with multi-beam bathymetry just from satellite data. So that we get a very generalized image, and then we can convert it into this incredible high definition image that really tells us what the structure of these seamounts are and guyots and where we should dive, because we've got to carefully plan out our dive. Even though we may be on the bottom for 16 hours, we're really not going very far, a few kilometers. So it's really important to nail down exactly where we want to go to find these high density communities. And without mapping and a very high resolution mapping, we're completely unable to do that. And then this also goes into a master database. Ultimately, it will get on Google and everybody in the world will have access to this. So future expeditions will be able to use these data for future expeditions. I mean, only about a little under 20% or so of the oceans in the world are mapped. And this is really important for exploration.
Yeah, it's really not safe for us to send these one-of-a-kind ROVs down to the ocean floor without knowing what they're going to encounter. So getting this mapping done first and then sending that mapping to our pilots is a very, very important first step. I'm going to go ahead and show you in the control van right now, just kind of take us out of the picture.
Yeah, they're seeing some cool corals. That's a bamboo coral they're looking at right now in that view. That's one of the two dominant types of coral that we've seen down here, black corals and bamboo corals. We've seen others, but these beautiful bamboo corals are the most one of the most dominant of those two species. And then of course we're looking at, you can see them circling. They got a telepres, they're like sporting, and they can circle the polyp and tell them to zoom in on it and check it out. And yeah, it's really neat. And then we have scientists all over the world that are connected via chat to give their input about what we're looking at and whether or not we should collect it or not. Is it a potentially new species? And all that kind of stuff. It's amazing interactive environment.
It takes about 8 people to make this operation happen on the crew that is behind us. We call them watches. We all stand a 4-hour watch twice a day. So I am on the 12 to 4 watch, which means I am in that room working live with the ROVs from midnight to 4 a.m. local time, and then from noon to 4 p.m. And the rest of the time I have to either do my other job duties, such as this, or sleep, or manage to get a cat nap every now and again. And you're on a different watch. Which
yeah,
watch
4 to 8. So I was up at bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 4 o'clock this morning trying to provide reasonable commentary. I'm not the greatest early morning person, but it's a 24-hour operation out here. The ship is incredibly expensive to operate. The resources are very, very limited. And so we have to make the most of our time out here. And so the only way to do that is 24 hours a day operation at all hands on deck.
Absolutely. And this expedition had a variety of biology goals as well as geology goals. And this is our last dive of this expedition. We'll be heading back to port later today to get ahead of a storm that's it's chasing us out of here a couple of days early, but that's the nature of exploration. So we have completed 12 successful dives so far, and the 13th dive is happening there behind us. And so we're still exploring and seeing things on these underwater seamounts that no humans have seen before. So before we open it up to questions, I just want to ask you, what is the best thing that you think that we found? And I can pull up maybe one of our photos that we have here.
Well, I think one of the neatest things that was from the dive yesterday. We found an incredible, diverse coral and sponge community with these gigantic sponges the size of cars, and these huge coral trees that are taller than I am and 10 feet wide. I mean, it was just incredible. The diversity of life at the top of the seamount was just mind blowing. And to know that these areas are still protected, these communities are thousands of years old. We don't even know how old some of these sponges are or corals. And so to know that they're still, in relatively in a pristine state and protected, and that these animals will go on, we don't even know what we can learn from these environments and what benefits their ecological services they're providing. So just knowing that these seamounts have these communities, that they're fully protected, and it's just is mind blowing to me, and that we're trying to understand how they work, how do these communities work and function.
Yeah, and one thing that I learned from you is that some people believe that this area is just a barren seafloor with nothing on it.
Mud and rock.
And you didn't think so, but without sending the ROVs down, you can't prove it, right? And now we have the photographic evidence to prove just how amazingly abundant and diverse these areas are. So go
What
ahead.
about you? What
Go
was
ahead
your
and
favorite?
yeah. So it's hard for me to pick a favorite, but I think I'm gonna have to go with the
I knew it.
anglerfish. Uh, we have seen several of these anglerfish down there. These moving animals, sponges and corals are animals as well. They're not plants, although they look like plants. But these larger swimming animals, they need a habitat. They need shelter. They need a way to get higher in the water column. They need places to hunt for their prey. And so without the sponges and corals, we don't see these swimming animals. But these anglerfish seem to be quite numerous in this area. We've seen several of them. And I mean, besides just being amazing creatures that make their living in complete darkness, it is so cute. It uses its little fins to push off the ocean floor, and it swims by kind of flapping its body in a very leisurely manner. And I just love those little guys. And every time we saw one, we all just loved it and thought it was really cool. And one time we were on watch, and everybody on my watch was saying, "Oh, I love you, little fish." And a viewer chimed in and said, "You know the fish can't hear you, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, we know the fish can't hear us, but we still love them anyway." So
They're very cute. They're like
yeah.
little fat-headed tadpoles, the
Oh,
way they swim. They're like really spastic, and I love watching them swim because they're like, "Rah!" You're like, how do you even move?
yeah.
You know, and they're yeah, you got some weird animals down here. You know, they have completely different, relatively can't even understand why they've adapted in the way that they've adapted to filter feed and to live in this environment. But you know, one thing that's super cool is that these are all animals. Everything we're looking at are animals. No plants down here because there's no light. I mean, there's never been any light down in most of these environments, and the pressure is extreme. You know, they have special enzyme processes that are adapted to these depths. For their chemical processes in their body, they have just really weird adaptations for, but, you know, the name of the game down here is getting up in the water column. That's what it's all about. How do you maximize the flow past your filtering apparatus? And so they all climb up on top of each other. You have some corals that are just like covered in animals like these crinoids that climb up on top of them and stick up in the water column. Sea stars that are eating corals. You know, they're one of the only predators down here. The rest are like filter feeders. It's just an amazing environment to like try to wrap your mind around
Yeah,
what life is like down there.
I think one of the most surprising moments is when one of these creatures that we're seeing here, this is called a crinoid. Think it looks very much like a plant, but it's not. It's an animal, and it let go of the coral that it was on and swam away.
Mhm.
And I was just so shocked. It was beautiful and amazing. So those are some of our things that we've seen that we've been really excited about. We got a lot more, but we are also very excited to take your questions. And so let us know what you want to know about life at sea, ocean exploration, ocean conservation, or anything that we've done on this mission. We're going to open it up to you for questions.
All right, excellent. Well, Andy and Kim, thank you so much for that great presentation and getting us all up to date with what you've been doing and seeing on the expedition. We're going to jump into the questions very shortly, but I'm going to jump into a Kahoot quiz. So since September, we've been running interactive Kahoot quizzes with our live events, and the classrooms have been quite enjoying them. So let's see how well they were paying attention today. So the code's down there at the bottom for the classrooms, kahoot.it. In just a moment, I'm going to pop up the PIN number for you as well. So let's get that up on the screen. There we go. So there's the PIN number. It is 2750099. If you have one-to-one tech at your seat, well, you can join in on like a Chromebook or a tablet or from home. If you don't have that, your teacher can bring it up at the front and you guys can shout out the answer for your teacher. So we've got a few students starting to join us now. Let's give them another few seconds and then let's get that live quiz going.
I hope I know the answers to all of these questions.
I'm sure we got some ringers in the audience.
I have a feeling that you will. All right. Well, there we go. I think we've got some students in here. Let's get this going so we can get to a little Q&A action. So just a reminder, each question, you've got 20 seconds. The right answer, you get points. The faster you get the right answer, the more points you get. Here we go. So roughly how much of the sea floor has been mapped? Was it 20%, 30%, 60%? Oops, I think I hit an extra number, 195%. That would be pretty impressive if we've mapped 195% of the seafloor. Should be 95%. A couple more seconds. All right. It was a close one, but most of the students went with 20%.
Right on.
Let's see who's holding down the leaderboard. We've got Olivia holding down that leaderboard. Let's jump to our next question. Question 2, about how large is the PMNM, the National Marine Monument? Was it 100,000 square miles? Was it 300,000 square miles? About 600,000 square miles? Or about 1 million square miles? Ooh, little controversy there. It
Oh,
went
this
with
one
1 million.
is close.
I think you guys said it was about close to 1 million square kilometers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's closer to 600,000 square miles. So that was a toughie. We're throwing a lot of numbers with different units around here. Sorry, everybody.
All right, we couldn't fool Ocean Awesome. They are in the lead right now. Let's jump to question 3. About how long ago were the seamounts active volcanoes? Was that about 10 million years ago? About 50 million years ago? 70 to 90 million years ago? Or trick question, they're still active today?
That'd be scary.
All right, 2 more seconds on the clock. Okay, most of the students were sharp on that one. About 70 to 90 million years ago. Final question coming up. And Ian has taken the lead, so lots of movement. Anything can happen on this last question. Here we go. On Midway, about how many albatross are there? So we're going above the surface. It was about 100,000, about 1.5 million, about 500,000, or about 1 million albatross. A few more seconds left on the clock. All right, most students went with 1.5 million. Sharp, paying attention out there. Let's take a look at our podium. In third place, Emily. Good stuff, Emily. Second place, we have, I think that's ET. Good job, ET out there.
Oh, ET.
And then Bryson took the lead right at the end.
Nice.
Aloha, Bryson.
Aloha.
All right.
Thanks to everybody who did the quiz. I missed one of those questions myself. So
you're swimming home.
Yeah, I wouldn't have won. So great job, everybody who participated.
All right, good stuff. Well, let's get into a few questions before we wrap up for today. We're going to go to a classroom who's not too far from you. We've got a classroom joining us in Hawaii, some 4th and 5th
fantastic.
grade with Miss Masuda. So I'm going to bring them into the call right now. We'll see how they're doing. Hey, everyone, how are you doing today?
I'm close. And then I'm going to pull your mask on.
Aloha.
Hi. My question is, how many animals have you seen on your mission?
We've seen so many animals.
They're all, as we mentioned, they're all animals that we're looking at. So we have seen corals, we've seen sponges, we've seen sea cucumbers, we've seen squat lobsters. Those got to be one of my favorite, the beautiful bubblegum pink squat lobsters. We see sea stars. We see it. You know, there's an animal, you wouldn't believe this. There's an animal called a tunicate. All it looks like is this transparent little thing, and it's actually related to humans. It's a chordate. It's related to human beings. It's incredible. And
there's another animal called a cucumber.
Yes.
Not the kind you eat on your salad, but this guy that I'm showing in this photo, this is a sea cucumber. That's an amazing animal that goes along the sea floor. We've also seen
ghost shark.
Yeah, we've seen a ghost shark. You can pull that picture up. This is a relative of sharks and rays that lives on the sea floor and is total darkness.
It's huge eye.
Yeah, so we've seen lots of cool animals. These are highlights from this exact mission. And I don't know, maybe I just really like the pink fuzzy things.
That's very cute.
This cute pink fuzzy sea creature is called a slime star, because if you touch it and disturb it, it slimes all over you. So we left it alone. We just took a little picture of it. But we've seen so many creatures and of all different types. Some of them look like plants, but they're animals, and Some of them are swimming around.
And you almost forgot.
What?
So we also saw the second largest whale on the planet, the fin whales. They joined us very early on in the cruise and hung out with the ship for 2 days. These were huge. They're just smaller than than blue whales.
Yeah, and I know that students out there always ask about this other creature that we saw, so I'm just going to get right to it. Yes, we have seen sharks. This is a oceanic white-tip shark. They are endangered, but they seem to be quite abundant where we are. They've been around our ship almost every day. And this is a picture from the Hercules ROV. When we're bringing Hercules to the surface, the sharks seem to want to come and check them out.
They did.
Yeah.
Great question. Thank you for that.
All right. Oceanic white tips. That is so cool. What a great shot there. All right. We'll probably visit Hawaii one more time, but I want to go to a class in Canada joining us in Ottawa. They are with Miss Nedko. Looks like they are some 7th graders hanging out with us. Let me bring them into the call here. Hey, Ottawa, how we doing?
My question is, what inspired you to choose this job?
Hello, Canada. Are you with us?
Oh, did you not hear that question? They were wondering what inspired the two of you to be doing the work you're doing.
Oh, yeah, we didn't hear the question at all. Sorry, but thank you for that awesome question. Do you want to go ahead and talk about your long career here?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on the ocean. I grew up in the east coast of the U.S. in New York, right on the couple blocks from the ocean, and I just loved the ocean. I fell in love with different animals and critters there, and I always wanted to be a marine biologist. To watch Jacques Cousteau growing up, that totally inspired me, and I just tried to. I didn't get into it at first. I took a very strange route to get to where I am today, but I just feel super fortunate to be able to do this kind of work and come out on these kinds of expeditions. And I just love the ocean and everything about it.
And this is my very first time at sea. I am not an ocean explorer. I am an educator, but I love the natural world and I love teaching people about it. And what inspired me to come here is I saw a video clip on YouTube of an octopus garden a few years ago that this vessel discovered off the coast of California. I couldn't believe it was real. And when I tried to learn more about ocean exploration, I found that teachers like me could apply to come on an expedition and talk to classrooms from the ship. And I couldn't believe that this is something I could even do in my life. And so I applied and was selected, and here I am. So what inspires me to do this work is students like you who are out there who want to see what we're seeing when we're seeing it, and I can help bring that to you live. So again, we're going to go to a live shot in the control van right now, real quick. Here's another amazing coral with some brittle stars, it looks like, hanging out in it. And now we're all the first people to see this.
It's incredible. And I'll just add that one of the main ROV pilots we have on this expedition is Canadian. He's from Vancouver Island on the west coast of Canada, and a young guy, and he's just really loves driving ROVs, and he's really good at it.
Yeah, and I think he might have entered through our intern program as well originally. Great question.
All right. Well, Kim, that's so cool to hear what inspired you. I was sitting in your seat back in 2018 when we found the octopus garden. So that was pretty wild to be able to see that happening in real time when it happened. It was pretty wild. Very cool.
I was watching it at my house and yelling at the computer, like, how is that real? So it's great to know that that you are connected to it. That's quite an honor.
Very, very cool. I'm going to bring our crew in Hawaii back and see if they have a final question for us.
Awesome. Aloha.
No, I think
Hi. The kids are feeling shy, but they're asking to see more photos of the things that you saw. They think that that's just really, really cool. And it sounds like that octopus garden is a YouTube video that we need to see too. So if you could send us over a link, that would be also awesome.
Yeah, well, we are posting highlights on our website, nautiluslive.org. There are some highlights from this expedition right now. If you click on gallery, And we'll be getting those highlights up as we can. We're beaming signal back to land, and our production team in Rhode Island is taking care of that. But yeah, we can absolutely show you some more photos. Let me
Awesome.
get one called up here. We
Anybody
can kind
else
of
wanna
talk you
ask
through
something?
them.
No.
Yeah, this is a cool sponge. I love the name of this sponge. You can say in your class, a Papahānaumokuākea. Papahānaumokuākea. We saw a lot of these sponges, and this was the ones we saw yesterday that were just huge. Like, yeah, 9 feet across, 6 feet high, monster, probably 2,000 years old. We don't even know.
One of the amazing things about these sponges is that they have to attach very strongly to these rocks so that they can stick out into the current to filter their food. So you can see this part down here.
It looks sponge Velcro.
Yeah, it looks like cotton candy, but that is what that sponge has been using probably for hundreds of years to hold on to that rock. All right, we got another shot here.
Oh, my favorite.
Oh, this one is amazing. So this is a huge coral frond that was probably 10 feet tall, and it had numerous of these pink spiky squat lobsters.
They're so cute.
What's really weird about this, first of all, this coral has rarely been sighted ever before. And every time we've seen it on this expedition, it's had these pink spiky lobsters on it. And we haven't seen these particular ones on other corals. So that's pretty amazing. All right, this might be one of my favorite ones. I want to talk a little bit about this particular sponge.
It's called the grumpy face sponge. No, just kidding. It's yeah, it's special. It's that whole filtering part. The head is where it does all the filtering, and then it has probably like a 10-foot long stalk, and then again that allows it to get up into the water column and filter as much. You can see how big it is. Argus is the size of a minivan, so you can see how big that sponge is. I think the head was at least 3 or 4 feet across and 4 feet high. And it was incredible. It had lots of animals in it. It had shrimp living in it and crabs living in it. And this will show you like one of the shrimp that live inside these. I call this the Mexican hat sponge, but it's just amazing habitat that they provide for all the animals down there.
What I think is cool about this is that the stalk isn't like a tree trunk holding the sponge up. The stalk is like a kite string holding the sponge to the ocean floor. And then this particular sponge is up in the water column, catching that current and filtering out tiny particles of food.
Anemones, those are beautiful.
And this is something awesome that we saw on this expedition. This is a fossilized whale skull. So we did not collect it. We just took pictures of it, but we know that it's fossilized and it's very, very old because of that black coating on there. That's a manganese coating that takes a very long time to form. So this is just something we did not know was down there. We explore not knowing what we will find. And we plan our dives very carefully, but at the end of the day, we just don't know what we are going to find. And just because I don't want to leave the geology out of our exploration entirely, I just have one more photo that I want to show really quickly of something that we saw. This rock formation is called columnar basalt, and this is an indication that lava was flowing here and it cooled kind of all in the same direction and caused these fractures to form. There are some very famous examples of this kind of geology at various places on Earth, and we found it on the bottom of the ocean. And so that was really exciting to our geologists on board. I know we all like to see the beautiful animals, but I also want to give a shout out to our geologists that we have here on board as well.
All right, very cool. Those are some great images. Wow, just awesome. We'll visit our Ottawa class one more time before we sign off. Ms. Nedco's crew, do you have a final question for us? Oh, I think she's typing something to us.
Hey guys, I think we're okay. No more for today. Thank you so much. This was like one of the best ones we've seen. This was fantastic.
Oh, yay.
All right.
Thank
awesome.
you.
Very cool. Well, Andy and Kim, thank you so much for taking some time to hang out with us today. Thank you for that great behind the scenes look. It looks like just a wild expedition, a great number of dives, and exciting that we caught the last dive while the ROVs were still in the water.
Well, there still is another expedition coming up. This is our last dive, and then we'll be going back to port. But the final expedition of the year will be launching late next week. And anyone who wants to can follow along live at nautiluslive.org. And if we didn't get to your question today, you can type it in the question box there, and they might answer it live on our YouTube broadcast. So this is the final expedition for our cruise, but exploration continues up until December 21st. So students, if we didn't get to your question today, please consider following on nautiluslive.org and entering your questions there on the website.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff. Well, good luck on the rest of the expedition. We look forward to our next visit to Nautilus. Thanks so much for today.
Thanks so much. Mahalo.
Aloha. Hui ho.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.